Hello and welcome to Bring Into Being. Have you ever thought to yourself, I want to feel better, but you just don't know how? Well, then this is the place for you. Here you will find practical tips, information, education, and some fun and play around self-empowerment and learning how to connect with your body, connect with your emotions, your thoughts and beliefs, and make some changes that will lead to feeling better. My name is Julie Chapman and I am your host. I'm thrilled that you're here. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Bring Into Being. I'm your host, Julie Chapman, and I am thrilled that you're joining me here today. This episode is about how to feel better. And I'm really curious about this topic, actually. I would love to hear from anyone who's listening how they make themselves feel better. I would like to include the fact, though, that many of us are very uncomfortable when we don't feel good, and we're unable to sit with that feeling or allow it to just exist for a little bit. We tend to want to run away from it or push it away or do something to distract ourselves from it. And I do understand that it is uncomfortable for many to feel those feelings, but I also question whether it would be good practice to at least begin allowing some space for those negative feelings or sad emotions, angry emotions, frustration, all of those things that all of us feel all the time. I think it's okay that they exist. We're human. We all feel these kinds of feelings. And when you really think about it, we experience our lives through emotion and physical sensation. So feeling those feelings, I think, is okay. And maybe it would be worth spending a little bit of time to acknowledge them before we do whatever we do to get rid of them. Because maybe there's something there to learn from. So I guess the first step, once again, is learning some awareness, some self-observation, some self-reflection to actually notice what we're feeling in the first place. Generally, we notice anger and frustration quite easily, or boredom, or guilt and shame. But do we notice the good and happy feelings as easily as the negative ones? Do we allow ourselves to spend time in those feelings as well? Or does it just feel like those feelings don't happen very often? It could simply be because we're focusing so much on the negative feelings that it feels as though there are no good feelings. And I hope that's not the case. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to find ourselves feeling down or stressed. However, maintaining a positive mood is essential for our overall well-being. Fortunately, there are simple and effective steps that we can take to lift our spirits and begin to cultivate something a little more in line with the life that we wish to experience. I like the idea of creating a wellness playlist for yourself, meaning finding all those things, those tools, those little habits that you have created for yourself to bring yourself into a better place or a more positive space, and create it like a playlist. Here's what I listen to, or here's what I do when I feel like this. Here's what I do when this happens. And I think all of us have a different playlist with our own special blend and mix of what is unique to us and our well-being. And what's on your playlist may change throughout your life or depend on your experience. I'll give you my own personal story. I had a concussion a couple of years ago, and I went from being a pretty happy-go-lucky kind of person to an extremely anxious person. Everything made me worry. Everything made me feel unstable in life, and disconnected from what my life would look like in the future. What was the new me going to look like when this was all said and done? So I began to incorporate practices that I knew about, but I hadn't really utilized in the past because I didn't really need them in the past. But now suddenly, with the experience that I was having, I needed them daily, if not every few hours every day, in order to maintain some sort of balance and calm within myself. Because I found myself getting more anxious at being anxious, and it felt terrible. Along with that, there were a lot of memory problems and confusion on my part. And so I needed to incorporate practices that would work for me, that weren't too confusing, that were simple, that I could access easily, that I could remember to do, and that would help to make me feel better. Now, for me, many of those things involved grounding and centering practices. You would have found me very often laying on a cool floor in order to ground myself and feel some stability in my life. And I don't need to do that anymore, but I'm actually grateful that I know the emergency go bag when things go really sideways. I've explored them because of the experience I had, and I know that they work for me. I hope that all of you know a few tools at least that work for you in helping you to regain balance, calm, and regulate yourselves again. I think another important factor to think about is when we don't feel good, when we feel frustrated or angry or whatever that negative emotion is that we're feeling, we immediately want to go from that feeling to happy. And that's a big leap. That's a really big leap if you're feeling really frustrated or really down. That's the equivalent to someone saying to you, hey, just smile when you're feeling very down and low and depressed. That's not going to work, and it's way too big of a leap to even attempt that. So when I say, what do you do to feel better, I'm asking, how do you move yourself on that scale from where you are to one step further in the right direction? So if I'm feeling very angry or frustrated, maybe I don't need to be happy, but maybe I can find a place of being begrudgingly accepting of what's happening. At least that's a start, right? And then once you get to that slightly higher level, more elevated from where you are, then maybe it's easier to take the next step and the next step and the next step. So what are some of the things that we can do externally to make ourselves feel better? I can listen to some of my favorite music, and that will immediately put me in a better mood. As long as there isn't some sort of sentimental or nostalgic memory attached to it where my brain will then start thinking about that and going back into sadness. As long as it's upbeat or happy or it means something good for you kind of music, if you like music, that's an easy one to tap into. And it may sound very simple when you're feeling really down to just listen to some music. And I'm not undermining the fact that it's really hard to get out of a dark place and that listening to a song or two could solve all of the problems. No. But what I am saying is, if you can listen to a song or two that makes you feel good, it can kind of act as a doorway into offering yourself some more self-care. And maybe it's not a song, maybe it's going out into nature. If you've been sitting at your desk all day and you're feeling frustrated or grumpy or angry, just going outside into the sunshine just feels good. It feels better already just to get away from that scenario. Another tool that I like to utilize is bringing in a memory of a person that I love dearly, or a place that I love to go, or something that was funny that happened at some earlier time in my life, just something that was really good and juicy, and returning to that memory and holding it in my heart for a moment and allowing it to grow a little bit there. Again, as long as it's not a memory that will trigger into a negative downward spiral, this is an excellent way to change your mood a little bit. We often hear that being grateful is a helpful tool to changing a mood or seeing a more positive aspect or perspective in our lives. And while I agree that that is a very good tool, Again, sometimes that's hard to get to if you're already feeling really angry or really down. But what you can do is look around you and see if there's things that you like. What do you like about the space that you're in right now? What do you like about the clothes that you're wearing or the mug that you're drinking your coffee out of? I'm sure that you can find at least one or two things around you that you can say that you like and that you appreciate. And you can look at it, pay attention to it, touch it if it has a texture, and just take it in the present moment. The more things that you can find to say, I like this, or I love this, the better chance you have of changing your perspective and therefore changing your mood. And of course, moving our bodies in some way is imperative on so many levels to our well-being and our health. In particular, with mood, moving your body, if you can get yourself to dance to that music, that's fantastic. But even just going for a walk in nature is like extra bonus points. Moving your body in some way that feels good will definitely get you the endorphins, the stress relief, and allow space for you to find a lighter mood or sense of being. Connecting with others, of course, is essential for happiness and well-being, even if you are a self-proclaimed introvert like I am. It's really important to connect and reach out to your friends, your family, colleagues, and have a chat, and especially have a laugh. Spending time with loved ones can provide support and laughter and a sense of belonging, all of which can uplift your mood. If an in-person interaction isn't possible, make use of technology and connect virtually, or just a plain old-fashioned phone call. It's always nice to hear the voice of someone who loves and supports you, no matter what your mood is. I have noticed that if I don't sleep enough, if I don't get enough sleep, I definitely wake up grumpy right away. And that's not a good way to start for anybody around me, including myself. Feeling refreshed and rejuvenated after getting some good quality sleep each night can really make a big difference. And of course, mindfulness and relaxation techniques such as deep breathing, meditation, progressive muscle relaxation, all of these can help reduce stress and promote a sense of calmness. Take a few moments each day to practice one or some of these techniques, especially during those times of heightened stress or anxiety. Incorporating mindfulness into your daily routine can improve mood and overall well-being. And mindfulness can be as simple as paying attention and being present while you're gardening, or while you're eating, or while you're cleaning the house or doing some other chore. That's still mindfulness practice if you are present and in the moment with that activity. When I was in the peak of my concussion and feeling very, very stressed all the time, I would utilize deep breathing almost constantly in order to maintain my balance, along with the grounding laying on the floor. These two things actually, I would say, saved my life during that time. They almost felt like something I could anchor myself onto within a storm that was happening around me and within me. So I highly recommend exploring those kinds of tools and keeping an open mind, even if it's something that sounds a little hooby-jooby or that it wouldn't work, that you have a negative attitude towards it. Give it a try. Just be open enough to try it one time, whatever the tool is that you're exploring, just to see for yourself rather than making a judgment before trying it. You may be surprised. And then be sure you're making time to pursue a hobby or spending time in nature, as I've said, or indulging in a creative expression. I personally love to journal and write. I've been a writer my whole entire life. And for me, again, this is a grounding and anchoring experience to be able to write my thoughts down in my journal and get them outside of myself. I find it extremely cathartic. Creative expression of some sort seems to be a useful tool for many people, and so I do suggest exploring that as well. If you can prioritize a little self-care and allocate time for activities that nourish your mind, body, and soul, you will feel so much better just from these simple acts. And I know many people say they don't have the time or they don't have the energy, and I completely understand that. But I'm talking about little snacks of practices. These tools are not an hour-long yoga session or an hour-long meditation session or anything like that. I'm talking about just feeling the chair that you're sitting in, feeling your feet connecting to the floor, giving yourself a hug, extending an exhale. These are all very quick, in-the-moment snacks or tidbits of practice. And to me, this is where the real practice of yoga or mindfulness comes in. It's not from going to a class, although that's fantastic, but it's when you can take those tools off of the mat and utilize them in your daily life to help you maintain balance and give yourself a sense of empowerment that these emotions don't control you, but rather that you are in control. You can choose, you can create the space to allow change and experience a more desirable outcome. I think when we're feeling down or frustrated or hopeless, all of those feelings, it's important to consider a little bit of self-compassion as well, which simply means being cautious or careful with self-criticism, not being hard on yourself if you experience a setback or a challenging situation that you wish that you had dealt with in a different way. Offering yourself some self-compassion doesn't mean that you're giving up on everything and it doesn't matter how things turn out. It simply means that you're allowing yourself some kindness. And so when a challenge does come before you, you have a greater chance of dealing with it in a more positive way when you are not being hard on yourself to begin with. And of course, if you've listened to any of the previous episodes, especially episode 3, which was on limiting beliefs and neuroplasticity, a lot of this comes back again to those limiting beliefs that were set as our identity when we were children, and what's running in the background in our subconscious thought that influences our decisions and how we feel about ourselves. Being able to bring some awareness to those underlying thoughts, those tapes that are running in the background, is pretty important to being able to change reactions or behaviors that are existing for you at this time. Since my concussion, I do feel that in some ways, some of my emotions have been flattened a little bit. And I notice that I don't really feel joyful that often. I notice that it's something that I need to actually bring awareness to or sort of create for myself. And yet I have a wonderful life that I'm very grateful for. I have wonderful family and wonderful friends, and the freedom to do podcasts like this and be creative all day long and to help others in their wellness journey. I have so much to be grateful for, and yet I still feel lacking in that sense or that spirit of joy at times. So don't feel bad. Don't feel bad if you feel bad. I think it's normal. I think life is very busy and there's a lot of heaviness in the world. There's a lot of heaviness in the media. And that goes back to what are you surrounding your external environment with? You know, we want friends that we can laugh with. We want nature and we want to be able to move and breathe and be mindful and watch the language of our subconscious. So it also makes sense to be careful of what we are listening to, what social media we're looking at, or the news, things like that. I'm not saying to not be up to date with what's happening in the world, of course, but I'm saying from my own personal experience, if I watch the news for too long, I can feel my body getting tight and tense. I can feel my mood dropping, and that's when I know I need to step away. If you have ever had the privilege of observing a baby crying when they need something, I feel like babies and toddlers are the most truthful in their expression of their emotions and their needs, as well as their expression of their joy and happiness. Think about it. When a baby needs something, it doesn't say, "Oh, no, I shouldn't ask." It cries. It asks for what it needs, and we immediately give it. The baby doesn't feel shame for asking or beat itself up for asking. It just asks in its purest form. I think the more that we could turn towards the truth of our emotions like babies and toddlers, the more we ask for what we need from ourselves and from others, the more we accept ourselves exactly as we are and accept whatever emotions we're feeling, the more that we can be in the moment and be present and tune into those tiny little glimmers of joy and happiness that exist in every moment of the day. We just don't necessarily notice them because we're focusing our eyes in a different direction. And usually it's towards the negative. So I say, be like a baby. Ask for what you want. Express your emotions. Be who you are. You're an amazing individual whose life is a tapestry of experiences and emotions and laughter and love and anger and frustration, all of the things that make up our life experience. On that note, let's do a short little practice together. If you're able to sit comfortably with eyes closed or lay down, that's fine too. We'll just need maybe 5 minutes or so without distraction. And just for a moment with the eyes closed or a soft gaze, just check in with yourself. Check in with your mood. Check in with your physical sensation. Just do a little assessment of what's going on with you. And whatever is there, just allow it to be. Pretend like you're just an observer and don't get involved with it. And then I invite you to bring into your vision, your imagination, something that you just love. Maybe it's a person, your grandma, your child, your dog, or maybe it's a place that you went to that just felt like home, or something that you did, some experience you had that just made you feel so empowered, so good, on top of the world. Pick just one thing. And I want you to live it again. Live that experience. Take in every detail that you possibly can. What were you wearing? Where were you? What was the weather like, or who was there? And most importantly, how did you feel in your body in that moment? Bring that sensation into your body in this moment. Let your heart fill and swell and just feel warm and good and happy, or whatever the feeling is that comes with that memory, with that image. Savor it. If there was a person there and you hugged them, feel the hug. Feel their body and their heart towards your chest. Feel their hand in your hand. Hear their voice. If it was a place, what time of the year were you there? What were the colors or the plants, the trees, animals? What made it special? Just soak up that feeling of goodness and let it bring a smile to your face. And even if it didn't bring a smile to your face, go ahead and smile and see how that solidifies. It kind of activates that already good feeling. just take this feeling in and recognize that you have the power to change what your existing self felt like to this current moment of feeling really happy or good, or whatever the good feeling is that you're feeling. And now you can let go of the image if you like. And just take a deep breath. Extend your exhale. Exhale a little bit slower than the inhale. And I want you to open your arms wide and wrap them around yourself to give yourself a hug. It could be a nice tight squeeze. It could be patting on the sides of your ribs. Whatever feels good, do that. Take another breath, let it go. And then you can just rest your hands on your lap again and return to your assessment and see if anything shifted at all. If nothing shifted, that's totally okay. There's no right or wrong answer here. What I'm hoping is that it at least provided a glimmer of something that felt lighter. And that's all it takes. That's your spark. You can return to that image or sensation. That's yours. It's a gift that you have in your memory forever. So utilize it. When you're ready, you can just open your eyes. And before I close off today, I want to thank you so much again for returning and joining me for episode 4 of Bring Into Being. I would love to hear from you. If you wanted to leave a comment on some of the ways that you make yourself feel better, I would love to hear about them. And if there's some good ones, I may share them on the next episode or future episodes. I hope that you will go into your day or your evening with some awareness of your current state and your ability to affect it. You have the power, my friends. Enjoy your explorations, and I'll see you on the next episode of Bring Into Being.